everybody, my name is Whitney and I'm on the Customer Success Department here at Social Tables, and I'm here with Laura.
Hi, I'm the Senior Community Manager here at Social Tables.
And we have a very exciting topic to go over with all of you today, a very chic topic, shall I say?
I would say it's a pretty chic topic.
So today we wanted to talk about New York Fashion Week.
So what's New York Fashion Week all about?
Great question. So for those of you that know nothing about the fashion industry, it's okay. New York Fashion Week happens twice a year. One in September, which just finished, and then another one in, I think, February. And it's basically a week-long event where American designers will show their latest collections. And along with those fashion runway shows, there's a ton of events that occur throughout the city in correlation with those shows. So it's a huge events time for the entire city of New York.
So Whitney, how is New York Fashion Week set up?
Great question. So what I love about New York Fashion Week is it's a little bit different every year, and it allows for event planners and fashion designers to get really creative. Overall, throughout the week, there's the actual runway shows, which take place at venues all over the city. But in addition to that, there's over 100 plus events in tandem with the shows.
You could probably say that Fashion Week almost takes over the entire city. And it's sort of like a convention almost.
I would definitely call it a convention, very similar, where all of the hotels are going to be completely bought out. All of the event spaces are going to be completely bought out. There's going to be mayhem on the streets with photographers, celebrities, even just identifying how to maintain the traffic between going to a show, to an event, and that timeline. There's a million things going on, and it's fabulous.
That's a great segue to my first question, which is, what are some of the challenges in putting on runway events or runway shows?
Great question. They're incredibly challenging. I mean, if you look at it from a logistics standpoint, like I said before, you're in New York City, and you're putting on fashion shows that are only about 15 to 20 minutes long that happen back to back to back with different events in between. So figuring out how to shuffle these really important editors from point A to point B while still giving them your brand experience in just 15 minutes is mind-boggling. So besides the timing, there's the actual execution of the transportation, of making sure that the correct people are sitting in the correct seats, that are at the correct events, that are tweeting the correct hashtag. You have to make sure that in that little span of 20 minutes, you're getting your brand across and you're getting that experience and atmosphere across in a way that will separate you from any of the other shows that are happening throughout the entire week.
What were some of the trends that you saw in this year's New York Fashion Week?
Well, speaking of venues, and like I was kind of saying, where the shows actually take place across the entire city, out-of-the-box venues has been a huge kind of trend this year, and something that has been popping up throughout the years. One that I really liked was Tommy Hilfiger actually took over Pier 16, an actual working pier, and set his runway show on Pier 16. We all are familiar with Kanye West. He had his Yeezy show actually on Roosevelt Island, where all of the editors had to transport themselves. Transportation was not included, so thank you, Kanye. But they had to take a ferry, or however else you get to Roosevelt Island, in the middle of the day to see his show that took place in this open lawn on Roosevelt Island. It was crazy. Another one that I really liked was Rebecca Minkoff, who actually took over a actual street in the middle of New York, shut it down, and had the runway be the actual street with editors aligning either side. So really creative out-of-the-box ideas, basically setting up these runway shows in really non-traditional event venues, but that really allow for the editors to have that experience, and also allow for great social media photos and great social media reaction from anyone else attending.
Mm-hmm. And a big part of those runway shows is sort of the set design itself. So were there any sets that you really, really loved or that really piqued your interest this week?
Definitely. One that I really liked was Coach. And what they actually did is they had a very rustic kind of 1950s 50s inspired show that had a lot of chains and actually had Elvis imprinted on their t-shirts. And so what they did is they took vintage cars and placed them throughout the runway and even stacked them on top of each other. So the models and the attendees were walking through these vintage cars on set. I thought that was really cool. Another one, and this is a complete 180 from the rustic theme, was Alice and Olivia, who had this really romantic tarot card around the runway, and there were these huge life-sized versions that models were going around and actually attendees could then pose with. So you're really allowing for attendees to also
engage with the set.
Exactly, engage with the set and also be a part of the entire show.
And one of my favorite ways to engage attendees at any event is through the use of technology. So,
definitely.
Were there any trends that you saw in the way of designers or different fashion houses that were using event technology in a really smart way to engage attendees?
Yeah, totally. And event technology is such a fun way to really engage your attendees. With that direct-to-consumer buying power, I mean, anyone could go on Instagram and have that kind of buy it now feature on their phones directly. I'm sure there were also a ton of different apps just for making sure that the schedule of the different events were posted and public and live to anybody that wanted to attend. Also, just for your sanity, if I was a fashion editor, no, I'm just kidding. But if I was a fashion editor, making sure that you're keeping track of all the shows, when and where they're happening. There were a couple of apps that actually did that for you, along with seating. So there were a couple of apps being, introduced there, and I'm sure used by a lot of different fashion houses just to keep everything organized throughout the week.
Sounds like this year's New York Fashion Week was definitely a week to show off some of these new trends in the fashion world. So how do you think that event planners can take some of these trends and really adopt them and bring them into their own events that they plan?
Definitely. One thing that I think Fashion Week always reminds me of is how creative you can be. Think out of the box. Again, these fashion houses only have 15 minutes to make an impact on fashion editors that could decide the success of their show for the next year or two. So making sure that you're using those 15 minutes to engage the attendee, to put them into this world, this kind of new, universe that is your collection is the biggest takeaway that I have. So for event planners, make sure you're, again, using really cool set design. Make sure you're engaging your attendees, whether that's through social media, buy it now features, being able to touch, feel, and immerse yourself in the event. Just making sure that you're thinking out of the box constantly to give someone a once-in-a-lifetime experience that they'll never have before.
And any final thoughts on New York Fashion Week?
When can I go?
For more videos like this and other videos from Social Tables, be sure to like and subscribe.
Tarot card inspired runway show where they had life-size tarot cards. Is that how you say it?
Tarot?
Tarot cards? Am I saying? Not Karen, it's Tarot. No, I'm just kidding.